you. What an incredible venue. Wow. Holy cow. If all the speaking gigs were this amazing. This is great. Thank you, Karen, Adam, Kim, and Trina for getting things set up today. So what I want to start off with, we're in this ride together, and things have changed a lot in the past few years. I want you to each think about the emotions you felt the last time you were at an amusement park, or maybe when you were a child and you went to an amusement park. What are some of the things you felt? Anybody? Joy. Fear. Excitement. Anxiety. Somebody say I puked? Is that what you said? Well, I'm going to challenge you. I picked up the Wall Street Journal this morning, and if you flip to the business section, fear, anxiety, maybe somebody puked, I don't know. I want to puke after I read it sometimes. Uncertainty, anxiety, anticipation. And so business, it's always been like a roller coaster ride. You've had ups and downs and ins and outs, but it's different today. When I was a child, we lived in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, this little rural community on a small farm. And sometimes in the summer, our folks would take us up near Cincinnati, and we would get to go to this place called Kings Island. And there were tons of roller coasters. Now, Mom would get a good book, and she would take off somewhere and be happy to be rid of us for the day. And Dad would take us on the rides. And about after lunchtime, he would get kind of tired. And we would play this game with him. It went something like this. Dad, if you just stand through this line with us, you can sit down on this nice bench right up there at the pavilion, and you can just relax. So, of course, he played along, and everyone around us, by the time we got up to the roller coaster an hour later, was in on the game. And we would sit down in the seat at the roller coaster when we finally got there, and he's like playing it up. I'm going to get off my aching feet, We would wait for it. The air brakes would release, and we would start moving. And all of a sudden, he would go to holler and, you tricked me again. And we would squeal with delight because it was so fun to play our jokes, right? But it's not like that in real life. You see, the restraints that kept us safely in place in the past, they can't keep us safe anymore, can they? COVID changed the way we think, the way we feel. The pace of change is going so fast now, and we're going to talk about why it's different today than ever before, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself. So first of all, we're a little bit distracted today. These are just some of the stats. I updated these before I came, and they keep getting more and more prolific. You've got the 24/7 news cycles, text, you're alerting, you're being dinged all the time, and we're in tech. So, in the middle of the night, it's not uncommon to get a call sometimes. 150 to 350 times a day, we're checking our phone. Now, you can have the silent turned on, but if there's something we say today that you think is going to resonate with one of your colleagues, with somebody on one of your social sites, I want you to share it. And there's a hashtag, Umbraco, what is it, Karen? High five you rock. Okay, I'm not sure that's the hashtag for the summit, but anyway, if you want to post something online, do share it. We want to have a ripple effect. If there's something that helps you, it can help your buddy. So these are just some of the stats that are creating distraction today. Social media, up to 5,000 ads a day. It's everywhere. Look around you, we're bombarded. Now, what's that doing to us as human beings? Nature has had 4 billion years of evolution. Business has had about 300. Our brains can't keep up. And what's happening, this goldfish has the attention span of 9 seconds. An 18-year-old American has an attention span of 8 seconds. It's changing the way we think and we feel. Now, each of you that are in here, if you have ever commuted to and from work every day, or maybe to school, if you've commuted anywhere, I want you to stand up. A predictable commute, day in, day out. Look around. Everyone in this room has done something that's linear. Now, in the past, business was linear. We would say, this is our plan for the year, or for the next 3 years. And the meetings were created to get our budget back to that linear take. And remember the old line you learned? You want to go up and to the right. You want to keep growing. And everything was predictable. That's how it was. But math is not like that anymore. I want you to sit down if you've experienced something uncertain that you didn't see it coming in the last couple of years. Wow. I think it's really important that we have a little bit of empathy for ourselves and what we've been through. This is chaos theory. This is chaos theory. It's no longer linear business. Look at what happened to Starbucks. One person had a bad experience. They tweeted about it, and instantly stock plummeted. It's happened to most major companies already. You can't predict that shit anymore. You can't. And you can't see it coming. And so you have to put yourself in the driver's seat. I loved the video you started with today. And I'm going to add a little bit more, but I'm going to ask you to take a little bit different perspective with it. I want you to be in the driver's seat. I want you to think about what's he hearing, what's happening around you as you're going through the track. I want you to think about how long this video lasts.
Cam.
Get low, get low, get low. Stay where you are. Wait, check up, check up, check up, check up. Keep coming. Big, high. There you go. Good cut.
31's up there, top side slow. Inside corner. 30 spinning. Come on, come on, come on. Missed it here. Keep coming. Big wreck here. Keep coming.
Clear behind them. Go low, go low, go low, go low. One inside. Come on, keep coming low, keep coming low. They're coming down. One coming down, coming down. Keep it back high. Back high, high. Out on the track. Clear. Track is clear. Keep coming there. Track is clear.
Woo. Some of the things you might notice about that video. There were spotters. Did you hear the people chattering in his ear? There were spotters, and that's like Kim, Adam, people in the company that see what's coming. They have the vision, and they're trying to help look out for their partners and the communities that they serve. They're trying to provide direction of where to go and how to avoid the train wrecks or the car wrecks along the way. That's really important to have. As a driver, you're driving 200 miles an hour. There's no more leisurely commute where you have time that if kittens run out in front of you, you could stop and go around. If a train comes, you could stop in a commute, but you couldn't in a race car. If there was construction and you have to go around on your leisurely commute, you'd still make it to work. But in a race car, any one of those variables, if you're not listening to where things are heading and really paying attention, you're done. And that's how business is today. But it's more than that. Your pit crew are putting on your tires. They're fueling you up. They're looking at the latest technologies to see what type of car you have to be competitive. That's your IT. That's your HR. That's your operations. They're making sure you have the wheels you need to get going. Now, that video was, anybody want to guess on how long? 30 seconds. Thank you. So the entire year 2000, the whole year of technological change, it now happens every 30 seconds. Woo! That's crazy. That's math that makes my small brain explode. So things are going faster and faster and faster. And what it's causing is burnout. Burnout. Now, the science behind that, Adam mentioned I've been doing research. And one of the things along the way, I got into energy engineering and learned about energy, and I got into human biofield studies. And I did that not necessarily because I was wildly interested in it, but led to that because innovation and change were happening so fast that to keep people up with technology, everything is about adapting, right? Adaptation to change. If you can't adapt faster and faster and faster, then people are going to burn out. The science of it is that we're made of electricity. We're made of energy. All of us. Quantum science proves this. Physics proves this. The way people react in business. If you have a new idea, what's the first thing people usually say? I don't have the resources and budget. You get this equal and opposite reaction. You're into Newtonian laws of motion. If you can be behind where other people want to go and understand what do they really want to do, now you're adding momentum and you accelerate together. Everything about our business comes back to being made of energy. In the same way, each of us has an optimal place along the growth curve. Some people love generating new ideas. They're at the bottom of the curve. Others love finding risk. They're at the top of the curve. Guess what? They are equally powerful, equally important for companies. You can't have a company without one or the other. And so getting a balance of those. Technology is no different. Technologies, you might have generative AI at the bottom of the curve because it's creative and future forward. You might have data management somewhere in the middle because it's getting things done, taking information and making it actionable. And then at the top, you would have things like ML and automation because they're streamlining and refining, reducing risk and reducing error. So everything about us comes back to weight and being made of energy. I say this because it's really important. It's not woo-woo stuff to talk about burnout and how I feel and all of those things. It's science, because the energy inside you that powers you, it drives your emotions and your actions. You start with energy first. So when, and think about our language, right? She spun up. He lit up the room when he came in. We're transformed. I feel drained today. I lit up when I talked about that. I get burnt out if I go too long. And if you have a fantabulous idea, what is the symbol that goes over your head? The light bulb, right? So it's prolific in our own language that we're made of energy. If you are put in a role or a situation for too long, like if you love finding risk, if you're at the top of the curve and you're put into total uncertainty like COVID, then you're going to burn out. You're going to absolutely burn out. If you're a big idea person and you put into a company as, do you want to switch my mic? Okay. All right.
There you go.
You get it. Did you guys see my Fruit of the Looms back there? So whenever, I think I was at the point of talking about burnout, and when you have a high vibe state, you're doing the things you love, but you burn out over time if you're doing things that are the opposite of what you love. Like when that person calls and you get that sinking feeling and you're like, no, not her. But you answer the phone anyway. And over time, if you're in the wrong situation, if you're in the wrong role, if you're around the wrong people, you're going to burn out. And these are just some of the stats. You see, the World Health Organization, they classify burnout as a syndrome in 2019. Now, that was before COVID, right? So it's way worse now. And the PTSD from COVID, researchers tell us, is worse than if it would have been from a one-time event. because nobody knows when it's going to end. And so it's just this ongoing nebulous thing. 85% of Americans are unhappy at work. And 50.5 million workers left in 2022, last year. Now that topped the historic high record from 2021. 40% of them left because of burnout. Now, it's costing us emotionally and physically. It's also costing our companies a boatload of money. $190 billion spent on the effects of burnout from the workplace. It's personal. It's personal for me. I reached such a point of burnout. And it wasn't one thing. It was like this steady drip over decades of time where I didn't feel like I could tell anybody at work what was going on at home. I didn't feel like I could tell them. I had one kid at home with a knee situation. He had hyperflexible legs, and he had to have 5 surgeries. He's in a wheelchair a good deal of his childhood. Now, he was able to walk, so we're very grateful for that. But it was a lot of years of touch and go. The other son worked really hard, delivering newspapers, working in landscaping to pay for his pilot's license. Now, this is the kind of kid that knew his purpose. From the time he was a little kid, playing with airplanes, that was going to be him. He got narcolepsy 2 weeks after his pilot's license. Wow. How's that make you feel as a mother when you're driving him home after the diagnosis and in your mind you know the rest of his life could look like? But yet you're the only female at work and all the guys have stay-at-home wives. And they take care of the kid stuff, so you don't want to show up and complain. I should have been home more. I should have been working more like the guys. I should have traveled more like the other office people. I should have had a homemade meal on the table every night. I should have been thinner. I should have been fitter. I should have had some more stylish clothes. I should be more Baptist like my parents. I should be more progressive like the colleagues I'm meeting all over the world. You know, all I was doing was shoulding all over myself and allowing others and their definition of success to should on me too. Do you ever feel like that? Yeah. We have to define for ourselves what success looks like to me. So it's personal. In 2016, I left my job. I was empty nesting. I went through a divorce after 21 years and had a cancer scare. And I went to the jungle. Isn't that what anybody would do? In Costa Rica, I was hours from paved roads, no TV, cell phone, Wi-Fi, radio, disconnected. There wasn't even a street address from where I went. And it was the best thing that happened to me, to reconnect, and I stayed there 3 months. Now, it happened to me, and because I grew up on a farm with animals, and because that energized me to being around all of those cool animals and monkeys and creatures I had never seen, like coatimundi. You'll have to Google that. They're so cute. They're kind of like a raccoon and an anteater and a squirrel all meshed up. I don't want that to happen to you. And I committed to spend my time working with companies, working with people from this point on to share that story and to share how you can avoid it. It does not have to happen to you. And that's what we're going to talk about today is 3 things you can do to transform from fear, the fear of the ride, the fear of burnout, into fun. First of all, let's break the rearview mirror. Get rid of it. You remember all that shoulding I talked about? Stop it. You are in control of your life. It may not feel like it, but you can define what makes you feel good and what makes you feel off balance. So being off balance, being burned out, literally, those are words that describe our energetic state. You feel off whenever someone around you is pulling your vibe down. They have a low vibe, you have a high vibe. You're like a hot cup of mocha, just happy, warm mug, and they're like the ice cube that comes in. It's the second law of thermodynamics. You have to, if you allow them to, you're going to be affected. Your energy is going to go to them. So break the rear view mirror. NASCAR replaced the rear view mirrors because you can't see clearly if you're looking in them. There are objects in the way. There are distortions. You can't tell exactly how far away it is. Is it ever like that? You're thinking about something that happened at work or something that really ticked you off, and you kind of remember it one way, and every time you remember it, it gets a little worse. Like it's a little more dramatic every time you think of it. If you're looking in the rear view mirror, you're not paying attention to the present. And it is a gift, the present. So NASCAR replaced the rear view mirror with cameras because cameras are looking ahead. They are seeing what is really there. And that's what we need to do. As long as we're wasting time looking behind us, we can't go forward. So tip number 1, identify those things that are bringing you down and let go. Shatter the rearview mirror. The second thing to do is tune in to what is really important. Now, we talked about all of these distractions and what that's doing to our little goldfish brains over time. And with all this bombardment coming in every day from our clients, our customers, our community members, our colleagues, our families, we have to learn how to tune in to the right things. So what we're going to do, I'm going to have my first 2 rows stand up and turn around and face everyone else in the audience. You guys are my listeners. First 2 rows. And on the count of 3, all that I want you to, these first 2 rows, all I want you to do is listen, because I'm going to ask you what you heard in a minute. The rest of you, I want you to think about your favorite dream car. Money is not an issue, people. Maserati, Porsche, race car, whatever kind of car you would aspire to have. Money's not an issue, or practicality, okay? I want you to say it after the count of 3. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to say your dream car. Got it? All right, here we go. So 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay, front 2 rows. Turn around here. Who wants to tell me what you heard? Bentley. Okay, one at a time here. Bentley, why did you hear that?
Very confident.
Confident, okay, loud, confident. Maserati, how did you hear that?
It was one of the last ones that I heard.
The last one in the door, okay. Tesla?
I think it was because proximity. Pretty close.
It was close to you. Okay, let's take one more.
Ferrari.
Ferrari, how did you hear that?
It was loud.
It was loud.
And truck.
And truck. And how did you hear that one?
Louder.
Even louder. Okay, thank you. Have a seat. I like this little exercise because isn't that how we deal with people at work or at home? Who's the loudest? So therefore, I don't want to piss them off or disrupt them. If they're the loudest, I'm going to do whatever they want. They're going to get my attention. The first one in the door, the last one out the door, the extra loudest person, you know. So think about what kind of bias are you tuning in with? Is somebody speaking louder? Is it because they're the last one you saw? maybe think about what you're tuning into and how that could change over time. And 3, stop chasing change. Follow your waypoints of purpose instead. So waypoints is something that I like to talk about instead of being on cruise control through life. Now, like Trent, my older son, who knew he wanted to be a pilot, most of us don't know what we want to be. You know, it changes over time. You might start out as one thing and then change into another and another. And as long as you're setting waypoints on your journey that interest you, you can stay consistently at a higher vibe. You will have a consistently more positive life and existence. So the little things, you know, gamify your workday. If you have to get 17 things done after 8 of them, okay, I can stop and play a chord or 2 on the guitar. I can rub my dog's belly. You know, whatever makes you happy, I can have a little piece of chocolate. Like, gamify your workday. Find these little waypoints in the day. Find these little waypoints in your life. But stop stressing yourself out about a whole big life's purpose. Because if we tune in to our intuition, it's going to provide those waypoints. Now, I'll tell you a couple funny things about this picture. Those are my 2 kids. And I don't know what's going on with Trent's arm. It's like, that's the funniest. He's like, should be in the circus for contortionism or something. And then the photo bomber right behind him. Like, you can't miss that. I hope she is picking a winner for all of us. But as you're thinking about intuition, I want to share another mirror story with you. I have a friend in Nashville, and actually I'm going to back up to this slide for this, about tuning into your intuition. How can you hear it? How do you know what it's saying to you? Well, you might get goosebumps. Maybe if your favorite team takes the field or makes that winning score. Maybe you're at a concert and they hit this impossibly high note and you get goosebumps. Maybe it's subconsciously humming. Like if I'm home eating mom's blackberry cobbler, I'm like, and you don't even know you're doing it. It's also called flow in energy terms. It takes a lot less energy to flow with the current than to constantly paddle yourself upstream. So all of these things are ways that you can hear your intuition. A friend of mine is a counselor in Nashville, and she works with children. And she said, Tab, we were having this conversation about intuition, and she said, I tell my kids always pay attention to their intuition. If they don't take anything else away from our work together, it's to listen to that intuition. And I'm like, why are you so passionate about this? And she said, well, I tell them when you're in a dark place, because many of them are in a very dark place, and that's why they're in counseling, you need to think about those happy things, those good intuitions, those high vibe feelings to bring you up. Go there in your mind. And we can do the same when we feel stressed out. She said you also need to pay attention to those low vibe things. What's bothering you? Don't just sweep it under the rug like I did. You know, learn from my story. Tell somebody. What's the worst thing that could happen? What was the worst thing? They could have fired me and said, too bad, Tab, we don't like you anymore. Would that have been so bad? Maybe not. But say something. Think about it. So Stacy told me this story. She grew up in Ohio, and she said, we had a poor family, but we were full of love. Our house was always full of love and care. And there were 2 things where her intuition was speaking, and she didn't listen, and it haunts her to this day. She said there were 2 things that made me sad about my childhood. Now, the first was that Granny lived with us. And she said we had a small family, and my cat named Garfield, and Granny lived with us, and she was in a wheelchair. Now, having moved Ethan around, you know, during his childhood, it's hard if you've ever done that. It's hard on the person that's wheeling them around and getting them up and down stairs. It's hard on the person in the chair who's in pain. So she was talking about when they would go somewhere, like to church or an event or to the store, and they had to take Granny, they would jostle her up and down the stairs on the porch to get her to the van. And she said, Granny never said anything. But sometimes she would cry, just little tears coming down her face because she was in so much pain. And she said, I felt so powerless. I was a little kid. I couldn't help her. I didn't know what to do. And then she said the other thing was this gaudy mirror. And I'm like, a mirror? What? At the end of the hallway of their house. And the mirror was next to her room, and she said all of us felt it. Like it just felt off. Like it just didn't belong, and we didn't like it. None of us. There was something weird about it. But it was so big that it would have to be professionally taken down. They didn't have the tools. It was really heavy, and it fit the whole length of the hallway. And so those were the two things. And time went on, and she said, Granny passed. And what we did is we put the house for sale. We moved a little closer to town, and the people that bought the house made it contingent on removing that damn mirror. Get that mirror out of the house. So she said we moved our things out. We moved closer to Columbus. And lo and behold, the construction people came in, and they took out the mirror. There was a door behind the mirror. And guess where it led? To the driveway with no stairs. Straight to the driveway. But because the house was so old, its stove didn't work, and so the wood that had been ricked up next to the house was never moved. They never knew. The answer was there the whole time. Everybody felt it. You ever been in a culture like that in your company? Everybody knows, but nobody wants to be the guy, to tell the man or the woman what's up. Everybody felt it, but nobody did anything. So listen, because you don't know what is behind the next door and what your intuition is trying to tell you. So my third and final mirror story, back to following your waypoints. Once you listen to your intuition, use that to set those waypoints. Does it feel good? Does it feel off? And the more you practice that, the better you'll get and the more positive, consistent lifestyle you will have. So the last mirror story, this one happened to me. I'm in Chicago in my 20s, one of my first big business trips. The fellow I'm with is a seasoned sales executive, pushing his 60s. He'd been to Chicago a million times. He knew all the shortcuts, and we were running late. We were afraid we were going to miss our flight. So we cut through this part of town. It was called Cicero, and at the time, where's my Chicago folks? Yes, I met you earlier. So Cicero at the time, as you know, was the murder capital of the United States. It was very violent and very scary. You should not get out of your car in Cicero. So we're coming along, and we are almost to a traffic signal, and the car stops. We're out of gas. And Ed is frantically trying to get it going, and there we are in our business suits with our phones and our equipment, and he's starting to panic. And I didn't know enough about the place or where we were or what was going on to feel panicked at the time. And so what we did, he starts getting his wallet out and trying to get money to try and bribe our way out of it. And he's trying to find a AAA number, and we feel like sitting ducks. And then this really loud car squeaks up next to us, with this music going and the window down, and the light turns red. So now at least we're at a red light and stopped, and the guy is next to me on this side, and I see something out of the corner of my eye hanging from his rearview mirror. Like those lucky rabbit paws people have sometimes, and they hang it from their mirror or put it in their pocket. This was like a legit hind leg of a dog hanging from that rearview mirror, like some kind of German Shepherd, I don't know what that thing was, but it was some big leg of a critter hanging from the mirror. And I'm telling Ed, look at that, what is that? Ed's going, don't look, don't make eye contact. don't look over, we're terrified. He's especially terrified. And I can't help myself. Like I want to look so bad. And it just got the best of me. And I was like, I had to. And I looked. And I made eye contact with the guy. And I saw the leg in earnest. It was pretty creepy. And he smiles at me with, assorted metal and golden teeth. And he's like, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, what's he saying? He gets out of the car, and Ed's like, don't roll the window down. Don't talk. He's panicking. By this time, he's got all the money in his wallet in his hand. And I'm like, what are we going to do? I mean, we're stuck. What are we going to say? He's knocking on the window. Yeah, gas. Yeah, gas. And I'm like, I think he's saying, are you out of gas? And Ed's like, don't look. And I'm like, I can't not look. We're stuck. And so finally, I went over and I was like, yeah, we're out of gas. So the guy opens up the back of his car. Now remember the setting here. He opens up the back of his car. If there's a hind leg hanging from his front mirror, what's in the back of the car, right? So there's all these black garbage bags in the back. A knife falls out on the ground, 2 beer bottles, and he's reaching and digging under the other plastic bags. Oh, the adrenaline is going. The hairs are standing back up on our necks. And Ed's got his wad of money trying to say, just leave us alone, just leave us alone. I'll give you all of my money. And the guy pulls out a little gas can. And he goes to where the gas is to be put in the car and motions to Ed to open the little hatch so he can put it in. And he puts in some gas. And Ed offers him his money out the window, the little slit that he let me put down. And he doesn't take it. Oh, good day, is what he said. And you see, if you face your fears, 99% of the time, they're not nearly as bad as you think they are. If you can just get yourself to face them, they're not nearly as bad. And so letting go of those oars, that struggle, that's the biggest part of it. You're fighting against everything. There is no fight. If you don't remember anything else that I say today, the fight is in your mind. Let go, drop the oars, and let the stream carry you where you want to go. You see, you've got this. Name one thing in nature, back to this badass natural world we have. Name one thing where the change comes from the top down. I got nothing. It comes from the bottom up. It comes from you. All of you. You see, Thomas Watson, he was CEO of IBM. That's a pretty highfalutin job back in 1943. And they had this amazing thing called a computer. And in his foresight, he thought, this is pretty powerful stuff. We have a need for about 5 computers in the world. 5. Because we can't trust the power of that with just people. They won't get it. They won't understand it. But you see, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, they had a different idea, didn't they? They put the power of computing in the hands of every single person, just like you. And 6.6 billion personal devices later, we have more computing power in our hands than NASA had when it landed its spacecraft on the moon for the first time. Think about that. Now, what would have happened with that revolution if people didn't have the power to speak their needs? What do I need? What did we say when we first came in today? They drove that industry by saying, I'm afraid of this on my device. I'm excited about this on my device. This is fun. I'm a little uncertain about that. You see, change is that way. Whether we're revolutionizing the tech industry, riding roller coasters at an amusement park, or at a conference and going home and changing our own perspective. You see, you've got this. And when you really take the time to break that rear view mirror, to tune into what's important to you, stop allowing others to shit on you, and step into the waypoints, the flow that you want to create for the rest of your life, guess who's going to be taking the victory lap? You. I am so excited to have been with you guys today. This has been a wonderful, wonderful trip. And I've put these 3 points on some paper, which will be in the workshop area. Is that where it is, Karen, someone? But we'll have a table with these giveaways if you want to take it home. Remind yourself of these 3 things. Thank you. You've been a great audience.